Welcome to On the Verge. This is Zach Spedden, joined as always by Bob Phelan and Nick Stevens. And tonight we welcome Eric Garfield back to the show to preview the Florida Complex League, which got started on Monday. But we've got a lot of other news that we got to get to before we talk FCL, including the injury news surrounding Grayson Rodriguez. But we have to jump into the positive, which is today's promotions. Several promotions were announced. The biggest highlight in this group, though, is Gunnar Henderson and Jordan Westberg, both going to AAA Norfolk from AA Bowie at the same time. Henderson got off to an incredible start at AA, while Westberg had recently come out of the slump and looked as good as ever at the plate. They will be getting to jump to AAA. Clayton Mcginnis goes to Bowie. Daniel Lloyd and Daniel Fetterman go to Aberdeen from Delmarva. And Nick Richmond and Edgar Cortez are going to Delmarva. We're going to talk a little bit about some of those players tonight, but we're going to start with Henderson and Westberg. We had talked recently about those two players, with Henderson, how good he has been, and with Westberg, how the Orioles should stay the course. Whatever their plan was for him at the start of the year, they should absolutely stick with it, because that slump was what it was, a slump. He bounced back. He looked good. Absolutely, I think, deserving of the promotion. And Eric, I'll let you start with this just so we can introduce you here, your reaction to today's news.
I remember when I watched Gunnar. First of all, hi, fellas. Happy Monday. I remember when I watched Gunnar in his rookie league season down here in Sarasota, and I just kept going back because my thought was, when Orioles fans see this guy, even his 1-for-5s are very exciting. You watch him move in the field, he's a different kind of athlete. So I'm not surprised that it's happened, and I'm not surprised that it's happened this quickly. He is a great player. He's a great hitter. He's a great mover in the field. So it's time for him to get tested against the best in the minors, even at 20 years old.
Yeah, I'm only surprised that he's being promoted this week. Like, that's the only shocking thing for me, because I thought for sure it was going to be last week. But then you look at this monster week he had, and like, it's very clear that Gunnar Henderson was not going to slow down anytime soon. Like, when you thought the walk rate was going to cool off, or that 452 on base percentage in almost 50 games, that's absurd. Like, when you thought it was going to cool off, it would just ramp back up. So yeah, I mean, he's a 20-year-old in AAA going up against guys who are going to be almost 5 years older than him at this point. Like, and I'm not anticipating a call up anytime soon. I'm not looking ahead to that, but I'm just going to say that we still got like 4 months of the minor league season. So he's still got plenty of time to prove his stuff at AAA and see what we got. But yeah, and Westberg too. I said a couple weeks ago, I think that Westberg, if there's one guy in the system that I'm not betting against, or I have zero worries about when he's in the middle of a slump, it's Westberg, just based on the way every coach and all of his teammates talk about him. That's a guy that you don't want to, you're not going to doubt even during a slump. So it's great that both of these guys are up. And for me, the biggest thing with Gunnar, though, is the plate discipline. Like, who does that? Who increases plate discipline that much so quickly at that age against such advanced competition? But for me, honestly, and Eric kind of touched on that, it's the defense improvements from Gunnar. How solid he is in the field. That stood out to me even more, which is really impressive, I think.
Yeah, they tried to wait as long as possible to promote him to AAA, and he just was not having it. He had a great week last week. He was in my red hot column, or whatever I call it, for the Down on the Farm article, and he'll be on there again this week, because he almost hit 500 and hit with the power. He only had one walk this past week and 7 strikeouts, which for him is easily his worst week of the season, but it didn't matter when you're hitting over 400 with power. And yeah, he looks great in the field. I'm wondering how many players are younger than him in AAA right now in all of baseball. It's pretty sensational. So it'll be exciting to see him adjust to that and see what he can do from there. But Jordan Westberg, yeah, I'm with you guys 100%. We were never in doubt when he was slumping that he would break out of it, and he inevitably did. He just is such a professional hitter. If there's one guy who I do think could make it up to the big leagues by August, maybe once the calendar creeps over to September and you get those extra 2 roster spots, I think Westberg could get up there this year. I think Henderson, they probably try to wait unless he just keeps hitting like this for the rest of the way. I think they try to wait for him for 2023, but it'd be exciting to see Westberg come up at the end of the year, and both well-deserved promotions. And just makes AAA, which Norfolk was starting to look like a little bit of a normal AAA team there for a second, and now I'm glad we're back to having these top prospects.
I have a friend that works for Altoona in the video department, and I talked to him today. He gave the assessment, and I don't want to interrupt the conversation, but he was watching Gunnar and evaluating him in the field, and he said the word that comes to mind with his defensive prowess is reflexes. He has faster reflexes than people standing next to him, and it's obvious to see when he makes a play that someone next to him can't make the exact same way. So it's time. There's so much going right for him. He really should be challenged to get to a higher level.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm going to touch on Westberg for a minute here, just to kind of put it into context of what we've been talking about with the slump. Somewhere like after, I want to say like around week 2, week 3, Westberg went into a slump, ended the month of April, really cold. That carried over into May a little bit, but he actually ended the month hitting 289 with an 866 OPS and 101 plate appearances across the month of May. And that's right about where I think you would expect him to be going back to AA. So I think he's right where he should be development-wise, and the Orioles are making the right move, bringing him up now, let him get challenged a little bit against AAA pitching, and continue to work him around defensively the way that you have, because I think it's clear that with the way the Orioles infield is stacked up, not just this year, but probably next year too, you're going to have flexibility to put him at 3 spots, one of 3 spots, maybe even play him at those 3 spots. So I think if you can continue to move him around a little bit, they should do that.
Yeah. And like, I know a lot of people want to be like, is Gunnar Henderson, it's in our mentions all the time. Is Gunnar Henderson going to play shortstop? Is he a third baseman? Are they going to have to move him to the outfield? Same with Westberg. Is he a second baseman? Is he a third baseman? Like, I'm not even concerned about that at this point, because both those guys can play all 3 positions so well that it doesn't matter where they play. I think they're going to be standout. I guess the only thing with Gunnar, and there was the comment I saw pop up there earlier, but the one thing you can nitpick, yeah, there you go, Simkin Tributes comment. The only thing you can nitpick, all right, Gunnar versus lefties, a 147 batting average, 502 OPS versus an 1168 OPS versus righties. Any concern there, or he's a 20-year-old kid, and look at what else he's done, you're not worried yet?
Yeah, exactly. To me, it's like, how many lefties has he faced in his professional career or even in his high school career? I think it's just, look how quickly he adjusted to this new approach at the plate. Look how quickly he's adjusted in the field. Just let him see lefties, and if he can continue to hit righties the way he has, just absolutely raked against them. If he can just even be average against lefties, then it's another level.
Yeah, only 34 at bats. Sorry,
right. Not enough exposure to really know. Even it's too small a sample size to make any true determination right now. So I guess what they're saying is, when they promote him, hey, we're going to let you see even more and even better lefties at AAA. So we'll see where that happens. I might have taken you up on, do you want to nitpick that, his low OPS and his low average? But I'm not the Orioles. They know more than me. They know more than us. So I'm with you guys. I bet he's going to do a little bit better than expected against lefties at a higher level. He's that good.
And I bet you this,
he's going to be challenged a little bit more, because I think with lefties at AAA, you're going to be facing better breaking stuff, probably better command. But I've tended to believe that platoon splits in the minor leagues really don't hold predictive value. There are some exceptions. Cedric Mullins is a very specific exception. That did hold predictive value, but that was because Cedric Mullins was not meant to be a switch hitter, and we learned that. With Gunnar, I think, yeah, he's probably going to get challenged more against AAA lefties, and it is going to be something you're going to see him take the lumps a little bit with, but this is as good of a test as you can give him to work through that and develop through that. And for someone who's 20 years old to be reaching AAA, if the platoon splits are the biggest worry, that is a huge success. Because last year, this time, it was the strikeouts that were the worry. Now it's the platoon splits. Now I think next year it's going to be, what is his, WOBA on Sundays when the game starts after 105.
Probably pretty good.
Yeah, it's probably pretty good. Yeah, I bet you he's looking forward to the challenge. I mean, you're going to see refined pitching at AAA. yeah, you might see some 4A pitchers, but like Justin Ramsey talked about when he came on, those guys, they know how to pitch. They have the experience, even if, they're not good enough to consistently get major leaguers out. They're going to be the best pitching that he's probably ever faced, at least the most refined pitching. So he seems like a guy that's up for a challenge. And no matter what happens, I think he's going to go in the offseason and probably try to find as many lefties as he can to throw batting practice to him every single day over the offseason. And, yeah, it's just exciting. Stowers, Westberg, and Gunnar Henderson back to back in a lineup. That's pretty cool.
Before we move on from this discussion, any thoughts on the other names getting promoted? Clayton Mcginnis is a guy that we've talked about a little bit as really one of the stalwarts at the back end of that Aberdeen bullpen. The promotion for him to Bowie is absolutely deserving. I'm going to highlight him. I'll just tell you now, he's going to be my player in the final segment when we get there later on. But any thoughts on him or the other players that were moved up today?
Like you said, you're going to talk about McGinnis. I think that's awesome for him. He definitely deserved that. He's the older guy, so let's see what he can do against AA. But the only unique thing that I saw on the transaction page that Edgar Portis was promoted to Delmarva, but he pitched today in the FCL. So I don't know what all that was about, but I don't know if, Eric, you have any clarity into that. But
I don't. I saw that, and I didn't know. I heard that he got promoted when you ran it down at the beginning of the show, which was kind of surprising because he pitched in the middle today. He was the second of three pitchers, but he was the guy I wanted to touch on. As far as like non-Matt Harvey or non-Carter Ballmer pitches down here, he was the one who had the best right-handed strikeout stuff, especially to righties. So it's certainly it's not a surprise, and he would have helped the rookie league rotation a lot. But I think this is a guy that's going to be able to have decent strikeout and strikeout per nine numbers at a level above rookie. I've talked to him about it. He's ready to roll, and he's been ready to roll for a while. I kind of was not thinking he would spend the whole rookie league in Sarasota, so they just bumped him up at the beginning. Good for him.
Yeah, I'm wondering if today just happened to be like his, side session day, so they get him a couple innings in there, and then he'll come up and start a game maybe in the middle of the week, or at least get some innings. But I want to talk about Cameron Bishop. I'm going to talk about him later. Cameron Bishop and Morgan McSweeney, they got promoted. I think it was a day or two before today, but I think those two guys are kind of sleepers that could potentially make major league debuts this year, especially Bishop. If the starting pitching options continue to dwindle a little bit, I feel like he's an underrated guy. They sent him to the AFL. When he has his changeup working, it's working pretty well. He might be a guy that could be what we expected Zach Lothar to be before the last year or so.
Yeah. And he's got velo too. He throws like 95. He can hit 95, 96 miles an hour, which is kind of surprising. But yeah, definitely not a nobody. He's always been kind of a sleeper. If you look back at some of his, especially early numbers in like A-ball and stuff, they're like surprisingly really, really good. But he was a guy like anybody talked about early on in his career. So good to see him in AAA.
Yeah, good to see him there because I think that he would have been there. He absolutely would have been there last year if he had not gotten hurt. And he was someone that I was kind of had my eye on early in the season because he was at AA, but he was one of those players that probably would have been a level higher had it not been for the pandemic taking away a year. And lefty could throw strikes, as Nick said, can get the fastball up a little bit, especially in short stretches. I thought he may have actually gotten a shot at the big leagues late last year if he had been able to stay healthy, just because of the nature of the 2021 Orioles. But now I'm wondering, could the 2022 Orioles use a little bit of help in that area?
Never hurts to have an extra arm.
Not enough pitching.
Well, and that's probably a good way to segue. As good of a way as we're going to get to segue into the news about Grayson Rodriguez. Rodriguez was pulled from his outing last week at Norfolk after a pitch that appeared to be a fastball registered at 89 miles per hour on the Harbor Park gun. There was a lot of stress going around Birdland when he was pulled, and the news was not great, though, for reasons I'm going to get into in a minute. Not as bad as I think was initially feared. He's down with a grade 2 lat strain. Could miss the rest of the season, though that is uncertain at this point. But regardless, it's looking like he's going to miss several months, and it could, at the very least, put the major league debut in 2022 in jeopardy. which is a shame because of how close Rodriguez was. And when I first heard the news about it being a lat strain that could shut him down for a while, yeah, I was a little upset. I was counting on seeing Rodriguez at Camden Yards sometime in the next couple of weeks, perhaps as early as Tuesday or Wednesday. But you get further away from it. It's not the elbow. It's not the shoulder. And he's still in line to be a big part of the Major League rotation in 2023. So I'm okay now, but I want to check on the rest of you, starting with Bob.
Yeah, it was a scary moment there. Definitely holding your breath, refreshing Twitter as often as you possibly can. Andy Koska, shout out to him. He's been excellent on Twitter and just in general with the Baltimore Sun, keeping us updated. He kind of gave me too much of a breath of fresh air or sigh of relief, I should say, when he said it was just heat cramps or indicated that that's what he had heard. Yeah. And it turns out to be a little bit worse, but still, like you said, it's not anything that should affect him long term. It's a back muscle. It's going to shut him down for a couple months, but it's not his shoulder. It's not his elbow, which is the most important. I can talk good today. Important. And it just sucks because he was probably one healthy out away from making his major league debut. Just a shame. But look, he found his stuff. He was killing it in AAA. At least now, when he's healthy, he can come straight up to the major leagues, whether that's the end of this year or if we're out of spring training next year. We were never going to compete this year, but still would have been nice to see him get those, innings under his belt, try to get adjusted as quick as possible as we try to become more competitive in 2023.
Yeah, I think Eric made good points before we came on the air that I think you could go over those again for the crowd. But real quick, my only thought is that I just think the timing was brutal because you can't convince me that he was not the planned starter for Tuesday or Wednesday against Chicago. I honestly feel like he was going to get one of those starts. So yeah, it's a little disappointing, but it could have been a lot worse. I guess that's all I have to say. I don't really know what else to say that hadn't already been said, except the mentions because I was watching that game and when I saw the trainer come out and I saw them talking, I was like, oh, he's definitely coming out. And then when I tweeted that out and the replies to that tweet were, I think I showed my wife and she was like, you need to log off Twitter for the rest of the night. She's like, I think everybody needs to just log off Twitter for the rest of the night. I'm like, that's not going to happen because now people are freaking out. But it was an event and Rodriguez is going to be okay. Rodriguez is going to be here for a very long time. It's not a serious injury. But yeah, it just sucks. The timing does suck. So I think Michael Elias said it best. It's brutal timing because of how close he was to the majors.
Now, DL Hall, a lonely nation turns its attention to you.
Well, some people think that Hall has better or comparable stuff anyway. But Zach, I'm glad you're okay. You got better from the news to announcing it and breaking it down. But and none of you said it's not the forearm either. That's for a guy that pronates and uses so much palm and changeup, forearm would be just as devastating as elbow. So I think when you really take a deep breath and consider where he is development-wise, Grayson is going to be the Orioles' #1 starter next year, and this injury did not prevent that from happening. It prevented him from reaching the majors this year and starting his major league development phase. So yeah, that kind of stinks. Even if he got shelled, we would have been very happy to see it, and he would have been very happy to gain from that experience. That will unfortunately have to happen next year, but it doesn't throw the rebuild off kilter in any way at all. So I guess it really is the best of a bad situation.
Yeah, and you can look back now and see why Michael Elias was so excited on opening day talking about this season and this team. You had John Means, you had Grayson Rodriguez on his way, DL Hall on his way, Tyler Wells looking to make a good transition to the starting rotation to go along with Kyle Bradish. I'm going to start crying on air.
I went back and I saw the clip because I was actually not watching Norfolk's game live. But when I heard that Grayson got pulled, I immediately went to that inning and watched it because it was only 2 pitches. And I was looking when the trainer came out to see, does Grayson extend the arm and point to anything? because sometimes you'll see pitchers flex the elbow or point to something, and that's what I was looking for. And when I didn't see that, I thought, okay, maybe it's not the elbow, but I hope it's not shoulder. That was all I kept thinking was just please do not let it be the shoulder.
Yeah.
Not talking to a trainer or not like stretching anything out, making the whole experience or the whole event verbal is a big red flag for me also. Because it also might be like, yo, my arm is so hurt, I can't extend it. So let's just walk off and do this in the locker room or behind the dugout. So that was like the first major hurdle. So once I saw that it was a lat and it wasn't one of the other body parts, elbow, shoulder, forearm, then I knew, or I didn't know, but I suspected, okay, he's the number one guy. He's the real number one guy, like in the whole sport. This guy's not pitching again this year. He's getting shut down, and we won't find out like that's official until a few weeks from now. So we'll see. You know, he's a very competitive guy and a fiery leader type. He probably, the second that he feels better, he probably wants to start throwing hard. So we'll see how the Orioles handle it, but I guarantee you they're treating him as a number one, a true commodity.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was hoping he like twisted his ankle or something, turning around to see where the ball was headed. Yeah, I was thinking and hoping a lot of things, and it fell somewhere in the middle. You know, it sucks, but it's not the end of the world.
Yep.
So, Nick, was the injury and the Twitter reaction what caused you to go into the woods and watch a baseball game in the middle of last week?
Actually, that was really good timing. Between that, the Adley discussions, the I'll just say the hot takes that have been floating around about certain prospects. It's like it was good to just not pay attention. There's the Rockingham County Baseball League up here. It's the top high school talent, D3 kids, and 40-year-old guys still living the dream, playing out in the middle of a cornfield. It's fantastic. And yeah, I'm going to be doing that a lot more often this summer to unwind. It's
Find
a good
an
way
escape.
Going off the grid.
Well, we'll go now to the levels of baseball that started today. That's the Dominican Summer League and the Florida Complex League. Eric is down in Sarasota on the ground covering the team for Eutaw Street Report. Every time Eric's on the show, he adds more titles. But you can follow him on Twitter at Eric Birdland. He's also the co-host of Florida Prospect Report. Am I missing anything else, Eric?
I have a Orioles minor league specific. It's called Eutaw Street South. We do that weekly also. So you missed that, but that's cool. That's all right.
We can shout out our competition here, Eric. No, I listen.
All right. So let's
No,
bad.
I listen every week. You guys do a great job. I enjoy it.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Yeah. So the season got started today. It's actually raining on me where I am, so I'm adjusting a little bit. The season started today. I'm on the other side of Florida. My parents live in Boynton Beach, and my podcast host graduated today. So I'm here. I didn't watch the game, but there were rumored to be two teams. It appears that there's only one, so a very big roster. And I guess it's kind of an exciting and educational part of the development process that a lot of people don't pay attention to. And the more I started watching it, the more I just think it's very neat. It's kind of like organized practice baseball, but you see talented players showing their skills and competing with other talented players. So I missed today, and I'll be back. I have something to do before I get back, but I will be back very soon to watch the Rookie League season in Sarasota.
Hopefully it stops raining before around noon tomorrow, so we can get some more box scores to look at.
Right. Well, it's Florida. You never know.
Before we take a deeper dive into this, Bob just reminded me, we like to shout out our new patrons every week on the show. As a lot of our listeners know, we have a Patreon community, and I'm going to turn that over to Bob to welcome our new members.
Yeah, we have two new patrons. So welcome to the mix, Robert Nadelson and Austin Romanowski. Hope I said that right. So welcome,
You were right
guys.
the second time.
Okay. All right, good. At least that's why I try a bunch of times. I know one of them will be right. But thank you, guys. Appreciate your support and welcome aboard.
So I'm going to start with a question I have about one of the big names on the FCL roster, and that's Samuel Visayo. We've been looking forward to seeing him hit Sarasota since he hit it to DSL last year, and we had a handful of social media clips, but it was apparent from those how good his power is. Eric, you've had a chance to watch him a lot recently, and not only have you seen him hit, but you've seen him catch and work out at first base as well. So where do you think he is overall in his development, and specifically, how is he looking at first?
Where he is in his development is probably considerably ahead of people his age. And I guess his best, he looks great at catcher, outstanding. He is a catcher. But when they move him to first, he doesn't look like he's not a first baseman. He's got the scoop game. He's got the adjustment game. He's a very big target to throw at with a big torso. So fielders can throw from his shoulders to his hips, and there's a lot of area. And he can move at first base. But strangely, his best defensive skill is throwing. He is a great and accurate thrower. For a big person, his motion isn't that wide and expansive, and he ends up throwing it very accurately. I guess all the reps at catcher really sunk in. So he looks like an outstanding defender, but an even better and stronger hitter. This is a big, big person, and I don't know if he's done fully growing, but even when he mishits it or hits it down near his hands, he can hit it over the fence by mishitting it. So a lot of guys at this level just aren't big and strong enough to do that. He already is with talent to develop. So I'd say for on this roster, he might be the biggest, not, the most potential future star down in Sarasota right now.
And he seems like he has a great fun personality as well. And we saw Yordan Alvarez sign a big contract extension with the Houston Astros, and I was getting flashes to about 5 or 6 years from now, maybe something similar happening with him and the Orioles. What do you think?
I think it's possible, and you're right. This is a kind of environment where everybody is like trying to get better every day, and a lot of people become too serious and over-focused, and nobody's going to say that about Visayo. He's very good and having a good time and smiling and pretty social with the other team. And I'm watching this as he gets, 5 foul balls hit off his head, things hit in the inside of his knees. So I'm watching him have a good attitude and a great disposition while he's being a pro catcher. So another good sign about his personality. Oriole fans will very much like Sam when they start to see him a lot.
Yeah, I think just remembering the fact that he put up these numbers last year in the DSL, and I know DSL stats, they are what they are, but he showed pretty good plate discipline, and that raw power shined through. 5 home runs in 41 games last year in the DSL as a 16-year-old kid for much of that year. A boy. Like, that is a boy. I feel like even these, like, Gunnar Henderson, I'm like, this is a kid because I'm like in my mid-30s now and everybody's a kid. I've reached that point in my life, but he was literally a child. But yeah, and I love that video that you posted where he gets hit in the back and just dramatically falls. And I just feel like that was that. And just, a lot of the other like dancing videos and stuff, I feel like that whole atmosphere down there in Sarasota is, like you mentioned, they all know like this is their way out. They are all working towards their dream of being big leaguers. And there's a lot of work to do and it's serious. But at the same time, it feels like there's this environment down there where these guys are allowed to just be themselves and have some fun because it is baseball at the end of the day. And yeah, I think that it looks like it's going a long way with a lot of these kids.
But don't forget what Mike Elias said on your show, on your interview. We kind of like to let these guys be themselves and discover who themselves are. This is the very beginning of that, but they're doing it in cleats with gloves and Orioles uniforms. So I've asked you guys, but so many guys, so many fans would be very, very positively surprised to watch this educational aspect. It's like baseball first grade, but some of the first graders are really good.
That's pretty good. Yeah. Kevin Guerrero is a new name and seems like a name on the rise. Got him in the trade with the Marlins over the offseason or early spring training when Tanner Scott and Cole Saucer were sent to Miami with Antonio Velez, Yaqui Ramirez, and a draft pick coming along with him. How much have you seen of him, and what are your impressions so far?
Well, he has not been an everyday player the whole time he's been here, and I don't know if he's really to that level yet. I don't want to say the onboarding is still going on, but there are a couple players ahead of him, and it's competition. So he's not in the top 3 outfield competition. I don't think it's because of a lack of skill or talent at all. He needs to refine things. His swing gets a little uppercutish even at the beginning of a game, even at the beginning of an at-bat. He's shown more proficiency covering the power alleys in the outfield. He's the kind of strider that when you watch a ball and you think, oh, that's a sure double, nobody's catching it, he's just there. So I can see why scouts really trust him as a defender and want to see what his development will bring. Offensively, he's not behind, but hitting as good as Steven Acevedo or Elio Prado, it's just not a simple thing. You don't just wake up and do it. So Guerrero I like a lot, and I think he's going to be a keeper, but he's got to get the Orioles way down very soon. And I think that's a priority for him and for the coaching staff.
He did go 0 for 2 today with 2 walks, so at least got on base 50%. That'll get going.
I'll take that.
Yeah. You mentioned the name Steven Acevedo, and that's the name I wanted to bring up because
you didn't pick on your fantasy team.
I gotta go back. We gotta look at those results. And
we should review that.
But yeah, he got 2 hits today, including a double, drove a run in. He is a guy who there's a lot of hype a couple of years ago, and then ever since then, the pandemic, last year trying to get back in the groove in Sarasota, the hype seemed to kind of die down a little bit. The numbers aren't great, but again, when you're looking at those low-level numbers, you miss out 99% of the story. And I feel like, Eric, you're the perfect person to fill in this full story here with Acevedo, because I feel like with Acevedo, he's still just 19 years old. And it looks like he moves well. He's a big kid. He's a power bat. And this could be someone who it clicks for him this year. And we see him in Delmarva, because I imagine he's a guy who, as long as he comes out of the gates hot, he could be in Delmarva within the next couple of weeks or months.
I think so. When you talk about speed, I know he has the green light. I know it because I watch him use it, and he usually gets in. He's a hands-first slider. He doesn't slide with his feet, but he almost always steals early in the count. So he's a little bit, for a tall guy and a kind of a long strider, he's a little bit faster. He's the guy that's going to benefit when the bases get incrementally bigger next year. But he's got the green light. I know that. I can't say for sure. He's a very loud cheerer. You always hear him. At the beginning of the season, after March, you could hear a lot of harshness and hoarseness in his throat. So I think he slumped at the beginning of this year because he was sick. I'm not going to claim I know what disease it was or sickness or anything like that, but I don't think he was at optimal health. Now he is, and he's driving the ball. He's hitting the ball. He's been warm since the back half of April, but driving the ball far and high, I don't think it's come as much as the coaching staff and the organization wants. He's hitting a lot. His average is very high. His on-base percentage is good. So he's getting the ball in play away from fielders, but is he driving it to the wall or over it for doubles or taters? Probably not enough. I have seen coaches say to him, he's happy he's coming off the field, and a coach will be like, yo, hit it up. We're glad for that RBI. We're glad for the single, but get it in the air. So I think as his body has changed since he's been in the organization, that part of it is positive, but he needs that last little bit of strength to drive the ball. I wouldn't be surprised if Delmarva caught him up very soon. I think he could hit there. But again, you want slugging percentage numbers from a guy who has lost potential like that. So I hate to say it. It's not a criticism of his game or anything like that. I think a lot of people are waiting for him to drive the ball with a little bit more authority.
Yeah, he is 6'4", so he's a big dude. The potential is there. And we know this organization is all about doing damage. We've heard that a lot on this show. So let's hope he can get there. And hey, you got to start somewhere. At least he's hitting the ball. Now let's work on driving it.
Let's move it up. Right.
The player that's down there now that first caught our attention last summer in the Dominican Summer League was Anderson de los Santos. And I think what stood out to us was the fact that even in the short season environment like the Dominican Summer League, when you have a 17-year-old that's walking that much and showing that kind of plate discipline, it seems like something you could build from. So you've had a chance to see de los Santos a little bit. Is there some breakout potential there?
Absolutely. And he'll either swing at the first pitch and drive it, between second and short, or he'll wait out the at-bat and see if he can get to first by walking. So I'd rather see a little bit more of B than A, but this is just a kid who is learning. And I'm watching a lot of learning with him. He has periods of sustained success, and then a dribbler will mess him up at third base and he can't field it, or he doesn't field it cleanly, and it takes him out for 2 or 3 games where he's a little less focused on at-bats or a little less aware in the field, and he's looking elsewhere. So he really he's down here for baseball maturity more than anything else. The skills are very, very, very good. And he's also, for someone his age, he is built with a lot of muscle and a lot of room for more muscle. Shoulders, chest, back, and butt. So I would expect the ball that he's already driving now is going to be power alley warning track very, very, very soon. Another thing, when you're paying attention to the demeanor and the personality, every mistake he makes or every bobble or mishandle in the field, same emotion. No frowning, no smiling, just cool, get back to work. There's another pitch, there's another at bat. So the baseball maturity is coming, but the personal maturity is really already there and on display. The guy has a cool head, and nothing gets him too high or too low.
I don't know if you guys saw that, but apparently down there in the lower levels, at least, they got the barrel chain, which is just an Orioles home run chain, but they call it the barrel chain. And he posted a photo. I saw he posted the photo on Instagram, and in the background, I saw the PowerPoint up there. He was hitting like 108 mile an hour exit velos. It was like a single that he hit at 108 miles an hour. I mean,
he's a strong dude.
And he's listed at 5'11", 185, which I feel like is obviously probably wrong. But yeah, that's a name I think Orioles fans should pay attention to pretty closely this year.
Yeah, he's a big money guy, and this is a skilled player. Really, the way for me to look at who's good and how good are they, which of these players could play on any of the rookie league teams that I see, De Los Santos could play on any of them. And I've also heard that he was very quiet and shy when he first got here. So seeing that presentation and seeing him standing up in front of the whole team is kind of another aspect of that maturity we're talking about. He's kind of like coming into his own.
Yeah,
nice
and
very nice guy.
Yeah, we've been excited about him for a while, and it was great in all that 2019 class coming in. Luis Gonzalez and Luis Ortiz, still have high hopes for these guys, but I feel like this class with Samuel Visayo, who we already talked about, Anderson de los Santos, Junior Lara, who we'll ask you about in a minute, and the one guy who I'm about to ask you about now, Michael Hernandez, who just seems to carry this aura of this seems like the biggest guy that we've signed so far until we get, to see the Braylon Taveras maybe break out, guys like Leandro Arias. But Michael Hernandez, he's the highest ranked prospect, at least by us, who will play in the FCL for the Orioles this season. What do you see out of him in extended spring training that either confirms or contradicts where we've placed him in our rankings?
Well, when I saw him for minicamp this summer, I might have remarked to one of you guys, I think that I'm looking like at a skateboarder waiting for his mom to pick him up, like outside the mall. He's just so tall and skinny. Now, that is not the case. He's still tall, but he's muscular across his shoulders and all the way up through his legs. So this guy doesn't miss leg day, and he hasn't in like 4 months. So he's getting bigger, but his movements are very refined. You can tell that he's had a lot of reps, a lot of shortstop plays, going to both sides, coming in, going out. He's a very smooth player. I don't know if his internal clock is exactly where it needs to be to start moving up, but we're down here to learn and get better at that. So I have noticed it's a little bit better than it was before. Also, Michael missed some time. It wasn't publicized, but he was out for a handful of games, more than 2 weeks. So I was thinking the whole time, like, what's going to be like a moment that clinches it for me? I should like Michael, or I should trust Michael. His first game back, his first pitch, RBI single. I was like, all right, that's it. And it went right over the shortstop. So I feel like I don't have to wait anymore. He's going to keep confirming how good he is. Now, what I said about De Los Santos could play on any team, Michael could play on any team, and on a few of them, he might be their best player also. So it's kind of like where everybody is fitting in a tier. I think in terms of baseball skill, talent, ability to execute, he's number one. Last week, he had a game where he had 2 hits or 2 outs very, very far to the left field wall. They were not a full swing. They were not a good swing, and they were more pitcher's pitches. So it was a demonstration of the strength that he had. Bad pitch, bad swing, 375 feet away. So the development from Michael is going to come, and it's going to be pretty loud and pretty exciting. He is not loud and exciting, by the way. He's very quiet.
Who's up?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's always me and my internet. All right. All right. One more outfielder. Another guy in that Steven Acevedo category, a guy who there was a lot of hype a couple of years ago, and we haven't really heard so much since then. But Luis Gonzalez, is there breakout or let's say bounce back potential with him this year, or what's he been looking like? What's the update with Luis Gonzalez down there in Florida?
Also not an everyday player. I don't think that he was ever hurt. He's probably the quietest guy. Breakout potential, I don't know, but bounce back to be an everyday type, I would be confident in that. He doesn't do anything wrong in the field. He's another guy. He's tall, long strider, and gets to the ball faster than you would think, and has an outstanding and accurate arm. When it comes to offense, his at-bats are usually, when I looked at my notes, they're usually a lot faster than you want them to be. He's not seeing things the way that a coach would want a hitter to see things, and that hasn't happened yet. So I have a feeling that's why he's not an everyday player, like a true rotational guy. But I don't want to cancel him out. You know, it's the rookie leagues. We got months to see where he's going to hit, but I definitely agree with you and have noticed that the perception of Gonzalez kind of hit a high and now is like at a lower plateau. So breakout potential, I'd like to see more evidence. There's another number 76. Gonzalez was 76. Another lefty number 76 who's shorter, who's doing a lot better, who just got here. That's Teudis Corto-Real. This guy can hit. He's not big. He's getting a little bit bigger, but, you know, his balls go a lot farther than you would think when you see him swing. So two outfielders, number 76, who are lefty-lefty, and present some interesting developmental aspects.
Turn our attention to a few pitchers now, and Cesar Alvarez, Davy Cruz, and Anthony Murillo kind of look like potential breakouts to us. What could fans expect from them if they get the opportunity to see them in Delmarva sometime this summer?
Murillo, I have not seen yet. I think that he was just added to the roster, so I have yet to see him. But the other two I've watched extensively, and Davy Cruz is probably the most out of nowhere, not expecting anything contributor. He is probably the best left-handed pitcher that they have down here. Left-handed hitters do not pick up the ball well against him at all. His delivery isn't the same every time, but no matter what slot it comes from or what the windup leads to, lefties get none of it at all. And their at-bats are over like that. So he's already got that. Righties don't hit him well or square him up, but they see the ball a little bit better, and they're going to hit him, where lefties, to this point, just have not. He's got strikeout stuff. He's got more than one finishing pitch, and it looks like he has more than one fastball, too. So Davy Cruz, there's not a lot of lefties. He's separating himself. Alvarez, on the other hand, is someone I expected to come in a little hotter than he has. His arsenal is really off speed, change up base, and he throws stuff in the dirt. He's trying to get guys to chase, and I don't think that the stuff is enticing just yet to where that they're going to chase 3 times per at bat. Alvarez is a guy that has changed his body a lot since he's been over here. I talked to him about his exercise program, and it's a lot of legs. So his legs are getting a lot stronger, but the velocity hasn't snapped up like commensurate. So he's still trying that off-speed stuff. Some of his appearances are okay, but a few of the appearances have lasted pretty long and enabled other teams to rally, and he'll get to 3-ball. You know, it's a rookie league issue. You get to a 3-ball count, and you can't get out of it. And then it happens again. And then it happens again. So Alvarez is learning on the fly, but his off-speed stuff and the breaking stuff that backs it up, it'll play. So I expect him to find a point where it all clicks. It might not be this season. It might be next year. But he'll get to Delmarva's rotation by some point.
And at least with Davy Cruz, if it doesn't work out on the mound, he can always play shortstop for the Tampa Bay Rays and later on with the Baltimore Orioles. We know you love Miguel Padilla. You know, you're always tweeting about Miguel Padilla. He's your boy. We know that. Will the trade return from the Astros be able to translate his obviously excellent stuff into results this season?
Well, I don't know. I like him a lot, and his breaking ball is the best that I've seen in person in a very long time. The game where I was at, the scrimmage last week, where it was raining and I saw Kjerstad get his hit, I'm watching Miguel's curveball through the rain from center field, 600 feet away, and I saw it stop and change planes twice. So this guy has got breaking ball stuff, and he's got more than one. He's got the little break slider, and he's got the huge break true curve. So I haven't seen a lot of effective heat play off of that. But if I had a breaking ball stuff like that, I'd spin every single pitch. And so he kind of does that, and he's learning, is this going to be a route to success for me to throw 80, 90% breaking balls and just have the heat set that up? Sometimes it's yes, and he throws 4 pitches to every single hitter, and sometimes it's no. So right now I'd say he's in the middle of the road. I love him because of his breaking ball. I was surprised when they took away his starts and made him a reliever, but he's been a very effective change of pace type reliever, and I really like him in that role. And as an athlete, he's embraced that role. His family came from Venezuela to watch him throw in the middle of a rookie league game, and he did pretty well. So Padilla is a guy that instantly earned my attention and hasn't given me a reason to stop paying attention to him yet. I really love that breaking ball stuff.
Love it. Going back to the hitters, though, another guy we know you're a big fan of, and I've become a massive fan of. I want to see this guy succeed so bad. Frederick Bencosme. Educate the listeners on who Frederick Bencosme is, because you look at his DSL stats last year, 44 games, he hit 310, struck out just 18 times, stolen bases, triples, doubles, couple home runs. I didn't go back and look, but he hit 2 home runs, but I imagine at least one of those was an inside the park home run, if not both of them. But maybe there's some more power in there. But we interviewed Kobe Perez, and he even name dropped Bencosme just unprompted. And I got super excited when he did that. Educate the listeners on who this hashtag legendary Frederick Bencosme is.
All right. I'm happy to. I met him more than several times. I like him a lot. When we talk about all these guys and in this environment, like you have to get better every day or you might get cut. Your belief is a tool, and this is where your self-belief is evident. You either believe in yourself and have confidence or you don't. He has the most confidence since Elio Prado got sent up, and maybe even before Prado. This guy believes in himself. He's not going to get down when he boots the grounder. He is not. He trusts his skill. So before we talk about anything that he does on the field, this guy believes, and when you meet him, and when you see him, and when you hear that belief. So I understand why guys and executives love him and fawn over him. For me, you can put this guy at second or shortstop, and he has range to both sides that's almost unlimited. He's a tall, skinny guy with very long limbs, and he uses them effectively as a baseball player. So I would say he's looked better to me at shortstop, but he turns that double play so well at second. He's a smart and savvy guy for a kid at the plate, not wasting pitches or at bats, or a smart tag at second base. So he is a veteran type guy who believes in himself. I would also bet that one of the home runs, or maybe both of the home runs in the Dominican, did not go over the fence because this guy is fast. He turns at first base and burns into second very, very instinctively. So all the baseball skill is on display. Offense, defense, athleticism, self-confidence. Freddie believes in himself, and if I was that good at baseball, I would believe in myself too. Another example of a guy kind of coming into his own. He's very independent, very vocal, and like most guys in this league on this team are not going to even talk to an umpire. Last week, he asked an umpire during an at-bat, why did you call that a strike when clearly it wasn't? So, it's not – he's just not afraid of what's going to happen to him on a baseball field. And the more you watch guys like that, the more you want to support and see good things happen to that. So I like his skill, but I like the guy a lot too. And again, like I say about every one of these dudes, when Oriole fans watch these players and can see them all the time, they're going to be captivated by their skill and their personality.
I'm glad to hear the report on his defense because that's not something we've had the opportunity to really see firsthand. Obviously, we're on video, but what has stood out time and time again is that left-handed swing. It's just so smooth. Have you had the chance to see him hit a lot, and does it look as good in person as it does on video?
It looks great, but really, in person, it's better when you see the quality of pitch that he's offering at as opposed to the ones that he's just spitting on. So it's another way to look at him as a veteran. He doesn't swing at garbage. He's waiting. He's evaluating. He's very happy to walk. He's the kind of guy, he will fake a bunt just to frustrate the pitcher. Then he'll fake it again just because he saw that it worked. Like, these are things that most young teenage baseball players don't even think about. He's using them as effective strategy just like that. He's batted everywhere from first to seventh, so he's versatile all the way around. I would think that he is going to use this rookie league season to kind of come on the scene and show people that aren't me how good he is and how good at every part of baseball he is.
What about, I know this guy's a favorite of Bob's. What about Junior Lara? What's the story with him? An outfielder. We've talked about a couple outfielders already. Some up, some down. Some guys still maybe needing some, orientation, like you mentioned with a guy like Kevin Guerrero. What about Junior Lara? Is he ready to step in and play for this FCL team immediately?
I would vote yes, based on another separating skill that he has shown that a lot of people don't down here. That dude is tough. I've watched him get hurt. I watched him run full speed last week into the Ed Smith Stadium wall in right field. Full speed. He did not make the play. He went straight down on the warning track, and he got up. He didn't miss any time. The next game he was in, and I even said to him, like, I tried to say it in Spanish, like, yo, you did not hurt your shoulder? And he just gave me a look like, lineup is out. I need to be in it. So that, for a kid, I only wish that I filmed him running into the fence so everybody could see the horrible impact it was. But he's fouled balls off his leg. He's overran balls and run into other fences. He doesn't miss time. He doesn't gripe. And when he plays, he shows off a great arm, better than a lot of other arms down here. He's explosive on the bases. He's explosive out of the box. So he's a good accelerator, and he's getting better, and he's getting stronger. I start the guys that injuries don't affect their play or their desire to play over a lot of other things. And that guy has shown true baseball toughness. There's a lot of weird – I've seen guys get hurt down here in weird ways and not come out of the game, but never run full speed into the wall and just be totally fine with it. By the way, they were down by like 9 runs late in the game, and this guy's going full bore. That type of impression, you just don't forget about it. So I like Lara, and I like the fact that he's confident but knows that he's tough enough to be where he is. And I can see why, when you're picking and choosing to come from the Dominican League, why somebody smart looked at Lara and was like, he belongs in the United States. And I agree with that very much.
Looking at a couple of infielders now, Aeroveil, Castillo, and Wolfie Cruz. Do you see them as possible dark horses?
I do. Castillo especially. I just met him for the first time 2 weeks ago, and a couple of his relatives have gotten in touch with me to brag about him and tell me about him. He's listed as a shortstop. He looks like he has the build of a corner, and he's only played at first since I've seen him. He doesn't have the scoop skills like Visayo or like Angel Herrera, but I think that his first job is hitting and being an offensive player, not like a DH type, but he just, as a teenager, he might not have his position down, set in stone, but he is a hitter. The first day that I saw him, I remember looking on the roster, like, who is 74? And before I realized it's Rubio Castillo, his home run had already gone out to left field. So another neat first impression. The other guy, Rolfy Cruz, I have not seen him play extensively. I saw him get a couple starts at Pirate City as an infielder. He's been used more as like a pinch runner type. And that's kind of strange because I don't think he's especially fast. So if we're looking at like dark horses and those two, I would pick Castillo above Cruz based on opportunity and playing time. Good question.
It's not always just these young international guys in the FCL. Obviously, in like 6 or 7 weeks, there'll be a large influx of talent after the draft. But also, we're going to have guys rehabbing, passing through, like we see Anthony Servideo and Dylan Hyde currently listed on the FCL roster. What do you think about those guys coming through? How long do you think they'll be down there? And who else do we think we could see pass through there over the next month or so? Reed Trimble could be an option potentially.
I want to say I'm not at home, so I don't have the roster, but rehab roster includes Toby Welk, who I could not tell in the rain, but I'm almost positive had in a bat. I think I know his stance, and I think I know his swing pretty well. Holds the bat pretty high for a tall guy. So I'm almost positive that was him. Welk, Heston Kjerstad, Anthony Servideo, Reed Trimble, and Dylan Hyde. I guess Servidio's on the rookie league roster, so maybe that means they expect him to be down here a little bit longer than just a rehab stint, which is kind of surprising. I've seen him play. The word that comes to mind when I watch him play is ready. It looks like he's healthy. He dives to both sides. He likes to get his uniform dirty. My favorite part about him, I guess I just didn't watch enough, this guy will not swing all day. He is happy to walk. I mean, there's so many of his at-bats that kind of like meander around, and they end up with him walking to first base. And he's very, very satisfied. And on a team like this that's offensively challenged and needs to find ways to start rallies, you probably need 2 or 3 guys like that. So Servideo seems ready. Trimble, I have seen contributing. He had a bit of a injury problem last week. I watched him get hurt. but I have communicated with him, and he said things are going a lot better. He's still down here officially rehabbing, so I can't estimate if it's going to be soon or less soon with him. Dylan Hyde, I have seen pitch. Again, he looks – I don't exactly know what the rationale is for him here, if he's injured or if he's working on something, if he's trying to gain something specifically. I don't know. But his performances, you kind of see he makes hitters confused regularly. So as an Orioles minor league fan, I would want that to see tested at a higher level. I haven't seen him pitch, I want to say, 4 appearances the whole season, but none of them have gone bad. None of them have gone off the rails. So I like Hyde. Long delivery, kind of not like Keegan Gillies, but he's really kind of a release point that's a little bit closer to the hitters, especially righties, than they would expect.
Love it. Good insight there. And a lot of these guys who we were excited to see. And I know you might be seeing Brendan Hanafy too. I was saying before we came on, I think Hanafy's throwing tomorrow to Yusniel Diaz and Brett Cumberland, some other guys who are hurt still down in Sarasota. So Diaz, if anyone is still interested in Yusniel Diaz, he's taking some rehab at bats against some other rehabbing pitchers tomorrow in Sarasota. But we can open up this last question to kind of everybody.
Okay.
Since the DSL started as well. I mean, DSL, I had the scores up here, actually. I think they split because there are 2 DSL teams. Yeah,
Correct.
One team lost to the Padres and the other team lost to the Blue Jays in the 8th inning. They only went 8 innings today. But, yeah, I guess kind of throw out some names. Maybe you guys are excited to watch well, I don't think any of us are taking a trip to the Dominican this summer, but who are you excited to watch the box scores for?
I'll start since it'll be easy to pick. Braylon Tavera, obviously biggest bonus for the Orioles internationally. He went 1 for 3 with a walk and 2 RBIs today. I'll leave the other obvious one for someone else. I'm looking forward to seeing Gene Mata. I know there was some hype with him after he got signed. Fernando Peguero. Let's see. Wilmer Feliciano, he's returning to the DSL.
Right.
He was 1 for 4 with a triple today. On the pitching side, I'm interested in seeing Henry Tejada. Andres Parra started today's game, went 4 innings, gave up 2 runs, but struck out 8. And Ezekiel Bonilla went 3 1/3, striking out 3 batters, giving up no runs, no walks, 1 hit. He's 16 years old, so that's I don't know if a 16-year-old can do that. That's something. Like exactly.
Then a guy that I'm really excited to follow is Thomas Sosa, an outfielder from the most recent international free agent class. This is someone that Kobe Perez talked about on our show a few months ago. This is someone the Orioles have been looking at for several years before they were able to sign him this offseason. He walked today against the Padres, but I'm going to be very curious to follow the box scores and see what he does, because it seems like this is an outfielder that's got a lot of room for development and someone that the Orioles had their eye on for a long time and were very happy to get in the most recent international class.
I would say the ones that I'm looking forward to the most would be pitcher Jan Lara, no relation to Junior Lara, and catcher, even though we've got a lot of catchers here, Anudis Mordon. Both of them, I've seen good stuff. Lara can make that ball move. I'm very surprised that he's not here already. I would have think he would have came ahead of a couple names. He's also in really, really great shape for right now. So maybe I'll find out more information than that. But Mordon, I talk to regularly, and he is a great source of information for baseball players that I can't see. He's given me a preview for so many guys. And that, most of this information I share with all you. So every Oriole fan that likes the minors should follow and appreciate and want to see Anudis Mordon, the catcher, come to the United States. We've talked about it before. He thinks it could be this year, but if not this year, I think he's about to turn 18. So if not this year, then next year. But we should all thank Mordon for being a great source of information and tidbits and tips on all the players. And he's a catcher, so he tells me how the ball moves for different pitchers.
Yeah, nobody mentioned Leandro Arias. I still want to know. We need Eric Longenhagen on. Still busy. Still trying to get him on the show. But I think Fangraphs had him. What number 12 on their top?
That was very high.
Yeah, that's extremely high. And I think we were like, what does he know that we don't know about Leandro Arias? Braylon Tavera isn't even on his top. What do they have? 40 something prospects he ranked, but. Yeah, I mean, Arias went 2 for 4 today with a walk. First at bat was a double. So 1 game sample size looking pretty good. So
move him up.
Yeah.
What I thought you were going to ask, Nick, is you think that now that the Orioles are doing things a little bit differently and participating in this part of talent acquisition, is it possible that we see some of these big name money guys or big performers like in 8 weeks from now or 12 weeks from now before the season concludes? I think it's a very logical thing to assume. It would have been a lot easier to do if there were 2 rookie league rosters, a lot more available spots. But if these guys are hitting well and the guys in Sarasota are batting 179, I don't think it's a very complicated or development affecting strategy to have them here and get ingratiated to the new Oriole way. I am very patient in terms of development, but I kind of don't feel very patient. If these guys are going 2 for 4, driving in runs and having successful baseball outcomes, they need to get tested against a better level pretty soon.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting point because like if you look at the FCL roster and you look at the coaching staff, they have 2 managers listed, 2 hitting coaches, 2 pitching coaches listed. So I'm wondering maybe they are expecting to be able to fill out that roster more and create 2 teams possibly later in the year. It seems like they can I'd imagine they'd be able to do that if they wanted to maybe and just play. I think you mentioned before we came on, maybe just scrimmages against each other or regularly scheduled games against each other on off days. Maybe I don't
have to be honest, completely honest. It bothers me to a large amount that I don't know that. And I don't have an answer for you and for everybody that's watching right now. I will be trying to find it. An indicator that I said to you guys, they usually played orange versus black scrimmages on the weekend. So if there's games on the FCL website that are already scheduled for the weekend, like the Orioles play the Braves or the Red Sox, that means there's not going to be scrimmages. So it's kind of an indicator that there's already one. But I definitely saw it as strange that there's 5 catchers, maybe more, 2 coaches, two of everything, but only 1 squad to start out the season. So maybe we'll find out those answers as the weeks go by.
Especially with the draft coming up, I mean, that's going to be a lot of bodies to try to fit on one team. So I think they are a little more flexible with what they can do in an FCL league, hopefully, and hopefully we get that second team eventually.
Those scrimmages, by the way, on the weekend, they didn't do a lot for development and helping guys along, but man, some of the bloopers, some of the best videos I've ever had. I don't think Wilkin Gruyan speaks English at all. He was pitching because they ran out of pitchers, and a pop-up went right over the mound, and he's trying to get it, and he's positioning himself to get it. I'm filming the whole thing, and you hear right before it bounces behind him and he doesn't catch it, a very loud OS. one of my favorite videos of him dropping the ball and cussing out loud. But it was a very like fun and different and laid back environment for coaches to kind of get their message across without worrying about if the Rays players are hitting home runs to the parking lot or things like that. So the orange versus black scrimmages were very fun, and I hope that we get at least one this year. If we do, I'll be there filming and providing a good video for everybody else.
Nice. One more name we should mention is Edwin Amparo, just another one of the big bonus babies, and he went 0 for 2 with the walk today, so shout out to him.
One of these guys has to come over before the end of the year. There's just too many good ones.
Yeah.
We'll go now to our final segment of the night where we shout out players outside of our top 30 for something that they've done, whether it's been a good week or a good game or something in the stat line. Just find kind of interesting. We'll let Eric participate tonight. But first, I'm going to start with Bob, who's got 2 higher level guys on his list.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about Caden Grineer just because, it looked like maybe he was this year's Mason McCoy, at least for the first month and a half of the season. But then, he's really gotten hot here in the last week or two. I'm trying to pull up the stats right now. This past week, he batted .444 with a 1,153 OPS with 6 runs, 3 doubles, 4 RBIs, 5 walks, and only 5 strikeouts. Also stole a base. He's really raised his numbers up from where he was at a couple weeks ago, where he was batting like 170 something with a 5 something OPS, and now he's batting 250, 240 something with the 714 OPS, I believe. So just shout out to him. He's got the glove, and if he can get the offensive numbers up a little bit, get the strikeouts down, get the walks up, hit for a little bit of power, he's got a little bit of pop. Maybe you see him up at some point instead of a Chris Owings, a Rougned Odor. Maybe eventually he'll get a flyer just like Rylan Bannon did earlier in the season. And I think that would be a cool moment for him. And like I mentioned earlier, Cameron Bishop, just wanted to shout him out, get him up to AAA. He's put up some pretty good numbers this year with Bowie. He did have an injury at one point, I think the last month or so, but on the season, he has a 3.57 ERA over 17 and 2/3 innings with 27 strikeouts. So great strikeout rate. I won't mention how many walks he's had, but we know he's got good stuff. And if he can get that under control, the command, then I think he's going to do good things.
Love it. Grineer. Well, we'll see what happens. It's going to be Richie Martin, guys, though. Richie Martin's going to be back by the end of the week. I'm going to go. I got 2 guys. Trent and Craig. I need to start keeping better tabs of who we talk about in this segment, because I feel like I keep repeating guys, but I don't know. They deserve it. Trent and Craig, a guy that I want to see rise up our list, and I think he's coming off probably one of his best weeks since joining Delmarva. He hit 304, had just 1 extra base hit. He did strike out, I think, 7 or 8 times while walking just once, but to see him collect 7 hits over the last week, I think is a good sight. And hopefully that's something that helps him settle in a bit and he can build off that moving forward. And Noah Denoyer is my pitcher. I'm going to put him in here every single week. Like 9 innings last week with Bowie, allowed just 1 run on 4 hits, 1 walk, 11 strikeouts. And I have his Bowie numbers since he was promoted to Bowie: a 2.25 ERA, 0.75 whip, 162 average against, 24 strikeouts, 4 walks. I mean, the guy throws 95, 96, big breaking ball. And I don't think he's one of these guys that's like fully baked or almost a fully baked prospect who's like, let's just refine some things and he is who he is. Yeah. I think there's still more projection there. Like there's very clearly, not physically, but in terms of like his stuff, the delivery, all of that, I think there is more there. And I think Noah Denoyer is a legitimate pitching prospect in the system that very few people are talking about.
Yeah, it's one of those guys where like every time we talk to a Matt Blood or anyone in this organization, you hear him talk, Noah Denoyer's name comes up. So clearly they're high on the guy, and we've seen why, because his numbers have been great the whole way. But now that he's in AA, where it seemed like they needed some arms with all the guys going on the IL, they brought him up, just like Griffin McLarty. I thought maybe this is just a taste, and then he might get sent back down. But no, he's taken that chance and he's run with it. Now that he's putting up these numbers that he's been putting up the whole way with even less walks at AA, and then he's firmly on the radar, just like Ryan Watson. It's like once you get to AA and you're performing like that, you're a guy. You can't really fluke your way, at least to a certain level of prospect status. You can't really fluke your way past double and then AAA. So shout out to Noah Denoyer. Yeah, definitely going to potentially make some noise in our next top 50 update come July.
All right, Eric, you got a couple of players you want to shout out?
Absolutely. And I also don't want to leave out that Denoyer was a starter on Gunnar and Darrell's rookie league team that won the league. So he's stayed as a starter and exceeded on that developmental track. And I fully agree with you, Nick. I think this guy's learning how to pitch and doing so very efficiently and very effectively. That's the kind of profile that shoots up prospects lists. So thanks for taking mine, Noah Denoyer. Because of that, I might not be able to follow the rules, but also 2 pitchers that I think deserve a great deal of attention. First, I'm going to start with Nick, with Vespi. I mean, we can call him a prospect that's not on our list, or say that he doesn't throw 98. But this guy, if you evaluate on results, this guy makes every type of hitter look bad with every type of pitch. So for me, it's taken a long time for him to find the role and the situation where he can excel. But he is clearly in it. I know the show is about the minors and he's in the bigs, but I am just so proud of him for staying with it. This guy got drafted a generation ago. So, I always will focus on him and the things he can do. The other one is Carter Ballmer, the starter that had Tommy John and is still in his recovery phase from Tommy John and doing very big things to good hitters with his stuff as he recovers. So when he was here in Sarasota, he kind of was getting by on fastball location, and the breaking balls just didn't have that diagonal snap. The first start he goes to Delmarva, he's showing 4 types of pitches, every direction, every quadrant, and finishing off hitters with a rising fastball. This guy, this is number 1 starter type of makeup. So he's very nice, and he was very calm and mature about it. But when he talked to me down here, he was like, my stuff is good. I should be gone. I'll stay down here as long as they want me to. But the athlete in me wants to be tested against better competition. So I'm really glad that he's in that role, and I would expect him to absolutely thrive in low A. So those are my 2 guys. Sorry if they were ranked top 30 or not.
It's all good.
So,
Vespi's yet to give up a run, whether it's AAA, major leagues, doesn't matter. He's not giving.
Isn't that good for a pitcher?
I guess it's okay, but
if they put him back in Norfolk again,
What are we gonna do? He's got options.
I know it's so frustrating because I am also extremely patient with guys, almost probably too patient with guys. But come on, stop bringing him up, sending him down, keep him in the majors. And honestly, my opinion with Nick Vespi is if you're not going to keep him in the majors and you don't think he's good enough to stick for you every day in that bullpen, then honestly, send him to a team. Let him go to a team that appreciates his talents, because this guy deserves to be in the major leagues. I want it to be with the Orioles, but come on, guys, stop doing this with him.
Nick, we are brothers on this, my man. We totally are. So we'll plan a revolt off air.
Hey, Logan Allen has a cool 11-something ERA in AAA, so that was definitely worth it.
Don't.
Wrapping this segment up, Frederick Bencosme is my pick for the hitter this week. He goes 2 for 4 in his FCL debut today. Everything Eric said about him not only confirmed some of the hopes that Bob, Nick, and myself had for Bencosme, but perhaps added them a little bit. Sounds like a guy that's very good defensively on both sides of the second base bag. Good plate approach, good left-handed swing. Look for him to break out this year. And then, said it earlier in the show, but I got to shout out Clayton Mcginnis, who put together excellent work at Aberdeen to earn this promotion to AA Bowie. 18 to third innings pitched, had a .98 ERA with 6 saves. But here's the best part for me with Mcginnis. 21 strikeouts to 4 walks. His numbers at Aberdeen last year overall were not that bad except for the walks. Walked 19 batters in 38 innings pitched. He got his command significantly under control this year and was a lot better cutting back the walks. He just needs to carry that up to Bowie now, but absolutely earned this promotion. And with that, Eric, I'll turn it back over to you. Our listeners, I think by and large now know your Twitter account at Eric Birdland. We know you're going to be tweeting out great content, but tell us what we got on the horizon there and where else you'll be working on Orioles content over this.
I write at UtahStreetReport.com, so I try to have FCL information and evaluations up whenever I can. I'm going to write a couple things about the prospects on the other teams, the Rays, the Braves, the Pirates. Some of these guys are outstanding prospects and future stars, so it's really interesting. Guys like Junior Caminero, Shaylin Polanco, Carlos Colmenares, any fan would love to read about or watch them. So I'll be watching the whole Rookie League season, I have I don't want to give it away, but I have a minor league road trip planned for sometime extremely soon. So I'll be doing that and covering that also. But other than that, podcast, write, and watch and post highlights and comment on your posted highlights.
You can catch our posts and highlights over at Twitter at BSL and the Verge. Also, be sure to check out BaltimoreSportsandLife.com. Bob and Nick both have new stories up on the site now. There's also a lot of excellent Ravens, Orioles, and college sports coverage there. Hop on the message board to join and discuss them with fellow readers of the site as well as contributors. Thank you to Eric Garfield for another excellent appearance on this show. For
Thanks,
Bob
guys.
Phelan and Nick Stevens, this is Zach Spedden. You've been listening to On the Verge.